Flashbacks in The Devil's Road are telling us something essential about where this season of the Vampire Lestat is heading. Lestat de Lioncourt is not merely losing his mind, he's being unmade by the same force that made him. And Gabriella, it is becoming increasingly clear, is not just a complicating presence in the story of the Great Conversion, she may be one of its primary architects. The flashbacks to Lestat and Gabriella's early vampiric life together are the episode's most fully realized material. A portrait of a dynamic so thoroughly toxic that even the most romantic gestures are expressions of control, as demonstrated by Lestat's willingness to go along with whatever Gabriella wants, as long as she stays with him. This does something crucial. It reveals that the Great Conversion is not necessarily a new threat, but the inevitable product of a relationship that has been moving toward catastrophe for centuries. Lestat might destroy a world he genuinely seems to love, because destroying it is the only thing that will keep her. The Devil's Road is the fourth episode of a season that has been openly warring with itself. The kinetic energy and contemporary reference humor of the Rock Tour setting, in constant friction with the atmospheric, lyrical psychodrama that has always been this franchise's most distinctive quality. And when it trusts itself to carry these two tones simultaneously, it's extraordinary. Sam Reed continues to carry the season with a performance operating simultaneously on several registers. The manic, performative Lestat of the tour, the wounded, increasingly destabilized Lestat underneath, who is beginning to see Nikki's ghost in mirrors and hear the voices of vampires around the world being emboldened by his music. The shooting at the stage door by a crazed fan lands not as a thriller beat, but as a symptom, another external shock to a psyche already fracturing from within. And when Gabriella finally returns, 9 days later, long enough to destabilize him and make him hyper-suggestible, she uses his vulnerability to get him back in the studio, recording a song to wake Akasha. This is not a mother who loves her son, this is a puppeteer who has spent centuries perfecting the strings. The episode's parallel storylines carry their own emotional weights. Louis' grief projection onto Regina, the Claudia lookalike he has hired to stand in for his long-deceased daughter, is one of the season's most uncomfortable subplots, but also one of its most honest. A man so unable to confront his grief directly, he has outsourced it to a transaction. $500,000 for a waitress to call him Daddy Lou and pretend to be the daughter he watched die. It is deeply uncomfortable and even more deeply, deeply sad. And Jacob Anderson plays Louis' inability to look directly at his own grief, with a restraint that makes every scene land harder for what he isn't saying. Daniel and Armand's bowling alley confrontation gives Daniel the magnificent vulgar monologue he's clearly been rehearsing in mirrors since the moment Armand turned him and disappeared. It is a scene of glorious, overdue catharsis. And Armand tries to respond with a letter of apology, because he's apparently doing the steps now. But beneath the comedy of all of this, and beneath the further development of Daniel and Armand's relationship, Armand's ultimate warning lands with genuine weight. The Great Conversion, it's happening, Daniel, and he's going to lead it, and get us all killed, Armand says. The picture being assembled of these broken people as the season progresses, Lestat, Louis, Armand, Daniel, each processing years of grief and trauma in maximally maladaptive ways, is as rich and strange and compelling as anything this franchise has produced. Lestat is fracturing. Gabriella clearly has a dark agenda that predates the tour, and the Great Conversion may already be underway. And somewhere in a diner booth, Louis is paying a waitress $500,000 to help him pretend his daughter isn't dead. And where broken people like these land when an apocalyptic threat arrives remains the biggest question of all. The Vampire Lestat continues in AMC, so let me know in the comments. Do you think Gabriella has been helping to orchestrate the Great Conversion all along? And what do you think of the latest development in Daniel and Armand's relationship? And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Fandom Frontline for more reviews as the season unfolds.